was when I called the police. 2 officers came. A woman named Officer Callahan and a younger man whose name I never caught. They were kind. They were patient. They listened to everything. They took my phone, played the voicemail, looked at each other in a way I didn't like. They pulled the records, the real records, not just my call log. And what they found was this: the calls had never happened. Not according to my carrier. Not according to any tower. My phone had received no incoming calls between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. on any of those 18 nights. No calls. No record. Nothing, but I answered them, I said. I spoke to someone. I have the journal. I wrote down every number. They looked up every number I had written. Dead lines. Disconnected numbers. Some not assigned to any carrier at all. The voicemail is real, Officer Callahan said carefully. We can see that. It's in the system. But it was sent from your own device. From your phone. While it was in this apartment. I was asleep, I said. She nodded. Slowly. They referred me to a mental health liaison. They were very, very careful about how they said it. They said it wasn't an accusation, that stress, sleep deprivation, and trauma could produce experiences that felt completely real. I showed them the mark on the door. They photographed it. I showed them the gap in the hall footage. They flagged it. They told me to call if anything else happened. Officer Callahan gave me her card. She held my hand for a moment when she left, and she looked at me and her eyes said something her mouth didn't. I don't know what it was. I've thought about it every day since. November 3rd, night 21. I had told myself not to answer. I had set a rule. I had called Diana and she had stayed on the phone with me until midnight. I had left lights on in every room. At 3:13, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered it. Maya, the voice said. And this time it was different. Closer. Richer. Like it was in the room. Where are you? I whispered. I'm in your building. What floor? My voice was barely audible. What floor do you think, Maya? I looked at my door. The deadbolt was turned. The chain was on. The lights, all the lights were on. My door handle moved. Just slightly. Just enough to know someone was testing it from the other side. Stop, I said into the phone. The handle went still. Good girl, the voice said. You're learning. The line went dead. I called Officer Callahan immediately. She was there in 11 minutes. I timed it because I had nothing else to do but watch the door. They found no one in the hallway. The elevator records showed no one on the 14th floor after 11 p.m. The stairwell door, which required a keycard, showed one entry. At 3:09 a.m. Badged with a fob that had been reported lost by a previous tenant. A tenant who had lived in 14-07. My apartment. The apartment where, 18 months before I moved in, a woman had died. Her name was Rachel Dole. 31. Graphic designer. She had lived alone. She had moved there after a breakup. The police report said she had begun exhibiting signs of paranoia and sleep disturbance in the weeks before her death. That she had reported receiving phone calls at odd hours. That she had become convinced someone was in the building, watching her. Her death had been ruled a suicide. Disputed by her family. never reopened. She had died on a Tuesday morning at 3:14 a.m., 1 minute after 3:13. November 4th, night 22. I did not go back to that apartment. I stayed at Diana's. I slept on her couch. I had one bag. I left everything else. At 3:13 a.m., my phone rang. Diana woke up. She saw the look on my face and she said, "Don't." I answered it anyway. The voice said, she answered too. I said, "Rachel." And the voice I had heard for 22 nights, the voice that had known everything about me, the voice that had sounded closer and closer and closer. It laughed. Not a horror movie sound. Not theatrical. Just someone laughing softly in a room somewhere, the way you laugh when something sad has been going on for a very long time and you finally accepted it. "I waited so long," it said. "For what?" I whispered. "For someone to say my name." The call lasted 61 seconds. It has never called again. I never went back to the Harcourt building. I broke my lease. I lost my deposit. I didn't care. The case remains open. There's footage of someone using a stolen fob on the 14th floor. There are voicemail recordings that cannot be explained. There is a woman named Rachel Dole whose family has been told, very quietly, that the investigation has been re-inspected. I don't know if what called me was human. I don't know if something that has been alone in a building for 18 months, in the apartment where it died, calling the woman who moved into its home, I don't know if that's a ghost story or a grief story or something the English language doesn't have a word for yet. What I know is this. I checked my old journal last week. The call log I kept. Every number I wrote down. 22 different numbers. Everyone disconnected. Everyone dead. Except the last one. I looked it up 3 days ago, the way you do when you've finally decided you need to know. The number is registered. Active. Currently in service. Registered to Rachel Dole. At an address that no longer exists. I did not call it back. But at 3:12 this morning, I woke up. And for the first time in 14 months. I wanted to.